when I was, me and Mukti on some of the, in July, yes, July, time. We took a trip, and a motorcycle trip. I was driving, she was on the back, and we took a 3-week motorcycle trip, and we rode almost 5,000 miles in 4 weeks. And one of the first things we did, we cut over across the Nevada desert into Utah and then headed north, and we eventually made it up pretty much to the Canadian border and all over the place. And on the third day, we're on the last day of coming out of the Nevada desert on a highway, Highway 50. I'm not a real desert guy, but I like high desert. Highway 50 rarely dips below about 4,500 feet, so it's still very hot and very deserty, but it has a certain beauty that the high desert has. And there's times on this road, it's really exquisite, because we're traveling at times, this isn't the exquisite part, by the way, but sometimes you don't have to turn for like 10, 15, 20, 30 miles. It's just straight line. That's fine if you're on a car. And if you're on a motorcycle, you want to be like entertained a little more than that. And it's a 2-lane road, and sometimes you'll go 20 miles, 30 miles, and not see another car, even in the opposite direction. So it's immense space. And so we're out in this immense space. And I have this immense motorcycle, actually, which comes in handy if you have 2 people. And I have the cruise control set on 80, and we're just straight line, nothing's out there. You know, you figure the desert, there's very little to happen. There's very little that's big to hop out in front of you. Or so I thought. And we're cruising along, it's about 12 noon. Now, anybody that has ever ridden motorcycles, distances or not, you know that the morning is not a great time to ride. I mean, it's a great time to ride, but it's also a great time for animals to be grazing at the roadside, so it's not a good time to ride. And as the sun is setting, the animals come out to graze also, so that's not a great time to be going down the road at 80 miles an hour, but I'm 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and in the middle of the desert, and we're riding, it's very hot, and all of a sudden there is an antelope in the desert. Beautiful antelope. Antelopes are beautiful, beautiful animals. And it's right on the side, and I see it up there quite a ways ahead of me, but at that rate of speed you close on things very quickly. And I immediately just know it's going to run out in front of us. So I grab the brakes very, very hard, and we start slowing down really hard and really fast. But of course, we come up on it very quickly, and sure enough, right as I'm looking into its eyes, it looks at me and decides, yes, I think I will run in front of you. And it darts across the road, and it misses our, we missed hitting it by maybe 2 or 3 feet. And I let off as soon as it went by, then I let off the brakes, and all in like a second, I get curious. I'm like, I wonder how slowed down we'd got. Like, if we had hit it, how fast would we been going? And then I see, 60 miles an hour still. That would have been a little more than interesting. But there was something that was even more interesting. All within a few seconds, I noticed this whole thing had happened, seeing this animal going at a high rate of speed, grasping the brakes, an emergency kind of stop. My wife's on the back, and then it jumping in front, realizing it's okay, letting off the brakes. And then, for 15, 20, maybe 30 seconds, this amazing sense of peace. Just total, absolute peace. The complete eradication of any sense of problem. Right? So all this happened without, it had to happen quicker than thought, of course, like it happens for you when you have to do things like that. It all happens much quicker than you can think. If I had to think about it, we'd still be on the roadside probably, but it all happened much quicker than thought, and so therefore it could never become a problem. It could never even be scary, because for like the 30 seconds, there's no fear, nothing, just total, very, very heightened state of peace. And we're just riding down the road, and then the body catches up, and it starts to put adrenaline into the system, right? It courses through your system, you know, it's like, and still, we're just riding. We weren't talking at all. We were both kind of grabbed by this state, right? And so adrenaline, and everybody knows what adrenaline dump into your body feels like, the emergency kind of adrenaline. It moves through the body. And that was happening in this state of total peace. Like, and it went through, and it went through, and it went through, and it went through. And I remember having the observation, oh, this is the point at which I could make this into something problematic or frightening. Like, oh God, what almost, right? But I just stayed with the sensation, and the adrenaline came in like it's supposed to do, because it can be useful, you know, and it would course through the body, and then it kind of dissipated because there was no thought to feed it. So after a couple minutes, the body realized there's no danger, everything's fine, the adrenaline is not needed, so it stopped producing it, and it disappeared out of the body. And then, because we can communicate through our little helmets, I said, that was a close one. And my wife winked, she goes, yeah. And later we were talking, because you have a lot of time to talk riding a motorcycle in the desert. And we both reflected, and I, just out of interest, I said, were you scared? Because, you know, it happens so fast that all she knows is someone's slamming on the brakes, and if you're in the back, you know, it throws you forward, and she said, no, actually, I wasn't afraid at all. And so it was the same state of actual peace. And, you know, I'm just saying this isn't unusual. This isn't something that happens to me but doesn't happen to you. It's just that I was observing it as I was watching it, and I just was so interested in watching it unfold and realizing all the points that the mind could jump in and make it into a problem, and seeing that my mind didn't even want to do that because it was much too interesting to watch it, and then it was totally unnecessary. Just total, and yet the body had responses as if you would think you were really afraid, but you realize, no, it wasn't fear, it's just adrenaline doing what it does, right? It needs to be put into the body so the body can react quickly. Now, I've had the experience in the past of having similar things happen, and then my mind getting involved, and if your mind gets involved, it will convince your body that it's still in a dangerous situation, and it can pump adrenaline into your system for days. And you can go 10 years later and think about it, and your body goes, oh, we need adrenaline, and then you get, right, you redo it to yourself all over again, because your mind convinces yourself that this is a problem and that it's dangerous. And yet in reality, it was just seeing something, it moving, me reacting, the moment passing, relaxing, and in the truth of things, there was no problem.